tenure with the Oilers, and you obviously contributed a lot, but what in the end made you think maybe it was time for him to move on?
Well, it was a function of a number of different things. One, the chance to acquire a player like Ryan Strome. Two, no secret, we've got to clear up some space to sign both Connor and Leon. And three, it was a deal that, you know, there are times that these deals come about and you have to act on them, and we just felt it would improve our team. Now you've got a player like Ryan who hasn't put the numbers up like Jordan, but he's got some things to his game that we feel could help us in our division. He's got good size. He's got a terrific wrist shot. I scouted him for a long time for the U24 team, and he's a very, very cerebral player. He can play center or the wing. Very good on the half wall. And these are all. I mean, these are all some of the things that Jordan has. But you know, we have to. When we can save some cap space going forward, we're going to have to do it. That's the reality of building a team these days. So it was a good fit from a hockey perspective. It was a good fit from a team building and cap perspective.
You mentioned the position with Strome. Do you go into the summer and the season thinking preferably he's center or wing, or are you just looking at him as forward?
You know, it's a lot of these teams that have success in the playoffs, and it was the same way when we were with when I was with Boston. Like, if you can put two centers on a line, it's to your advantage. I think he's a natural center, but he can certainly rip a wrist shot. So he's quite good on the wing also.
How much did Jordan Eberle's lack of production, whether it's the season or in the postseason, have to do with you deciding to move on from the player?
You know, certainly that has something to do with it. But you know, the reality is that Connor and Leon are going to get big raises, and we have to clear some space. So, but that then you have to choose someone who you're going to move, and unfortunately, it was Jordan. And Jordan's had a lot of good years here. It wasn't solely because he didn't produce in the playoffs, but you know, as I said before, I think there are a lot of good things he did in the playoffs. And you know, and I know he's going to have success with New York because he's a smart player. But I mean, the circumstances dictate that we have to do this, and you know, these are hard decisions, and unfortunately, we had to trade Jordan.
He had a good opportunity to play with McDavid. I mean, in your opinion, why didn't that click better?
I don't know. I mean, he certainly thinks quickly and he moves the puck quickly. He was a 20-plus goal scorer, and he still is, and he will be. You know, and he might have been with Connor this coming year if he was around. So I think you know, the takeaways from this trade are not so much focused on Jordan. There's reasons why we trade players, fair enough, but this is about cap management, and this is about replacing good players with good players, and this is about long-term thinking.
Do you feel, you mentioned cap management, do you feel like this puts you in a pretty good spot moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it something that came together rather quickly, or had these two players been discussed for a while?
You know, there's been discussions on and off. I'll leave it at that.
In the span of a year, you've traded Hall and then Eberle. You have obviously no problem with trading big-name players. Is that something that you just flick off the emotional switch and it's purely analytical for you?
Well, I think a trade has to make sense. So, I mean, I use that when we make these decisions. You have to, you know, you've seen it around the league. You've seen it with successful teams. Like these moves have to be made, and we're fortunate that we get a good player back.
After the Islanders made their coaching change last year, Ryan looked like he took his game to another level under Doug Wade for a little while there. You scouted him a lot before that. Did that reaffirm anything that for you to see him do something, you know, after a slow start?
You know, he's a skilled cerebral player, and you don't lose the sense. He's 23 years old. He's going to continue to get stronger. He's got a good frame. You saw him. He had a little bit of a dip last year, the fact that his game came on, did it rejuvenate our interest in him? We like the sense, we like the shot, we like the way he thinks the game. So that really never changed.
Peter, you said at the end of the season that you were wanting to try and get a deal done with Chris Russell. Approaching July 1st here, are you still in that mindset that you want to try and get the player signed, and are you optimistic?
Yeah, I'd like to try and sign Chris. Yeah, we've got some time here, so there was a moratorium here for a while, and we'll pick it back up, and we'll see where it goes.
Is it important heading into the draft to have an idea if that piece is in place or not? I mean, you're already without Sekera to start the year, so do you need some certainty on Russell?
I think your critical date is July 1. The draft, I mean, I guess you could, if you're suggesting trading picks for players, yeah. And then, I guess, yeah, that's your first critical point, and then the next one is July 1. But I've said all along we'd like to try and sign Chris, and we're going to continue to try and sign him.
Was that possibility with Chris, Peter, in your mind as part of wanting to free up some salary cap room, or was it just exclusively Connor and Leon?
Well, it's the whole picture. Like, it's the whole picture. Like, I want to be in a position that we can, one, pay these players, which we are, and two, fend off any suggested predatory offer sheets, which we're comfortably in that position now. So we're with Chris. If and when we sign Chris, we'll continue to be in that very comfortable position.
Do you think an offer sheet could come then?
No, I don't. But I mean, there's always the chatter, and I want to be firm and clear that we have significant amount of space, and we'll match anything.
Did you have a lot of options with Eberle? Like, was there a lot of interest in him, and you had to
I'm not
kind
going
of
to discuss that.
filter
Yeah.
deals, though?
I'm not going to discuss that.
A guy like Patrick Maroon, you've got him under a really good cap hit for one more year. Is he a guy that you'd like to keep?
Again, I'm not. This isn't the state of affairs for who I'm signing, who I'm not signing. But
Going into the draft, you're in a different position than the Oilers have been in some time, which is good in one sense because it means you're trending upwards, that you're not picking in the top three. At the same time, what are you expecting to get out of this draft as opposed to the previous Oilers draft?
Well, certainly not as high a pick. There's some good players in our range. I'll give you the standard answers here. Someone's going to fall, and we'll be really happy. How's that? No, we've got a cluster of 4 players that we think we're going to get one of them, and it's good news, bad news that we're in 22. So I'm okay with it.
What about not getting a second-round pick because of you? I mean, they changed the rule. It's a dumb rule.
Yeah, I know.
You guys have to live with it now.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's no comment on that.
We have to ask, how would you characterize negotiations with Leon or Connor? Or are you optimistic at this point that something will be done?
Not going to characterize.
Okay.
Let's try one more. Jesse Puljujarvi. Is it an opportunity for him to make roster next season?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Do you expect him to make the roster?
I would hope so. Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it an opportunity for him to make roster next season?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Do you expect him to make the roster?
I would hope so. Yeah.
Thank you.